Today, Hungary openly sent a warning to Ukraine about the possibility of declaring war. Hungary will attack Ukraine and activate Article 5 of NATO if Kyiv strikes the Turk Stream gas pipeline even one more time. Such a statement was published today by the office of Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. They stated that attacks on Turk Stream will be considered an attack on a NATO country, so Ukraine should reinforce another section of the border with troops. It is noteworthy that such threats came amid a Washington Post investigation, which stated that Russian foreign intelligence even prepared a staged assassination attempt on Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán to influence the outcome of the elections. That's exactly why this story was invented, claiming that supposedly Ukrainians are threatening Viktor Orbán's family and children. But it seems that the Kremlin has not yet abandoned such manipulations, since an internal report by Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service states that an assassination attempt or another military provocation. This is a way, quote, to fundamentally change the entire paradigm of the election campaign and shift it to an emotional plane with a focus on security and stability in the country, but that's not all. Today it turned out that the head of Hungary's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Pechiy, had been leaking information for years directly from European Union meetings to his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov, and the information he couldn't pass on by phone he personally delivered to Moscow. My name is Pechiy. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start I want to ask you to support the work of this YouTube channel financially with your donation, a paid membership, or by becoming a sponsor right here on the YouTube platform. You just need to click the join button, or you can use the QR code on your screens, which is actually the most convenient way to make a one-time donation. I will be grateful for any support you can give, but you can do this at the end of this episode. And don't forget to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechiy News. The link is in the description of this video. There we post breaking news as it comes in. So, Russia is already trying to help Viktor Orbán win by any means necessary in the elections in Hungary this April, and they're using various methods. And now, a very interesting puzzle is coming together about how Putin and Orbán are trying to hold on to power in Hungary. Today, Viktor Orbán's office stated directly that Hungary will attack Ukraine if Kyiv strikes the Turk Stream gas pipeline even one more time. Quote, this will be considered an attack on a NATO country. Let Ukraine prepare for all the consequences that follow from this. I won't spend much time on this nonsense, but let me remind you of the timeline. This is when the puzzle pieces begin to fit together. The thing is, on March 4th, Vladimir Putin unexpectedly stated that Russian special services allegedly have information about Ukraine preparing to sabotage the Blue Stream and Turkish Stream pipelines. According to the bald dictator Putin, the sabotage was being prepared by Kyiv with the support of the West. And here is a quote from Putin. Just as the Nord Streams were once sabotaged, now in Kyiv, with the support of some Western special services, an operation is being prepared to sabotage the Blue Stream and Turkish Stream pipelines. We have already informed our Turkish friends about this issue. Let's see what happens in this area, but this is a very dangerous game, especially today. And back then, on March 4th, many people wondered what did the Russians have in mind this time? Well, because at that time Ukraine hadn't touched the Turkish Stream at all, and then suddenly such a statement, even now they still haven't touched it. But Putin says they want to blow it up. Now it's obvious that this was part of a game to drag Hungary into the war, or more precisely, an attempt to create destabilization within NATO. But that's not the only tool the Kremlin uses to help Viktor Orbán win the elections. The Russian Foreign Intelligence Service considered staging an assassination attempt on Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán to influence the outcome of the elections. The Washington Post reports this, citing an internal report from the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, the authenticity of which was confirmed by European intelligence agencies. The document proposed organizing an assassination attempt on Orbán as a way to, quote, fundamentally change the entire paradigm of the election campaign and shift it into an emotional sphere with his entourage, focusing on the country's security and stability. The report was prepared against the backdrop of Viktor Orbán's declining popularity. Russian analysts pointed out in this report that 52.3% of Hungarian citizens are dissatisfied with the situation in the country. Moreover, negative assessments prevail both in cities and in rural areas where Orbán's positions used to be very strong. According to polls, Orbán is losing to his opponent Peter Magyar, the leader of the Tisza party, who is running on an anti-corruption platform. There have been no actual attempts to attack Viktor Orbán, but the very discussion of such a scenario, as the publication notes, shows how high the stakes are for Moscow in Hungarian politics. According to Western officials, the Kremlin is interested in keeping Viktor Orbán in power because he helps block key decisions of the European Union, including those related to Ukraine. And he also serves as a link with American conservatives. It is against this backdrop that the Hungarian authorities have intensified their rhetoric about external threats. Viktor Orbán, as you know, accused Ukraine of stopping the supply of Russian oil through the Druzhba pipeline, even though the pipeline's operation was suspended after a Russian missile strike. The Hungarian authorities also announced the deployment of troops to protect the nation's energy infrastructure from a possible strike allegedly coming from Ukraine. By the way, since then there have been no further statements on this topic. Well, finally, it became clear why Viktor Orbán, remember, embarrassed himself on video, claiming that supposedly Ukrainians were threatening him, his family, and his children. Remember that video where he's on the phone, supposedly with his family, saying, yes, 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 oh my God, poor things, Ukrainians are threatening you. Then he said, don't be afraid, I'll go out now and tell the entire Hungarian public about what these Ukrainians are like, how they're threatening you, and then everything will fall into place. Basically, as it turned out, this was part of that staged assassination attempt strategy. Moreover, later Hungary demonstratively banned 3 Ukrainian citizens from entering, claiming that they were the ones who allegedly threatened Viktor Orbán and his family personally. So, that's how they prevented an assassination attempt. In the end, it all came down to staging an assassination attempt on Orbán, making it as believable as possible, and blaming Ukraine for it. According to European security experts, Russia was simultaneously launching an information campaign in support of Orbán, promoting him as the only candidate capable of protecting Hungary's sovereignty. At the same time, the opposition was portrayed as a puppet of Brussels, that is, the European Union, ready to drag Hungary into a war against Russia on Ukraine's side. Какие коварные планы. Additional documents point to attempts to discredit the opposition by creating fake videos using artificial intelligence and spreading fabricated accusations. European sources also note the long-standing ties between the Hungarian leadership and savage Russians, and according to them, Moscow, thanks to Budapest, had access to internal discussions within the European Union. In addition, according to one official Hungarian Foreign Minister Pechiy, right during European Union meetings, communicated with the head of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Sergei Lavrov, passing him information about the course of the discussions directly, as they say, in real time. And Pechiy flew to Moscow personally to discuss the most sensitive issues. Meanwhile, in Europe, concerns are growing that the election results may be disputed if Orbán loses, because Orbán was one of Russia's main assets in Europe, and of course the Kremlin would not want to lose such an asset. But there is another problem. Viktor Orbán is also actively supported by Donald Trump. But today, the former president of the United States publicly supported Orbán on the eve of the elections, speaking via video link at a conference in Budapest. And there he called Orbán a strong leader and wished him victory. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. And let me remind you that I would appreciate any support you can give for the work of this YouTube channel. All the links and details on how to do this are in the description of this video. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.